welcome to Fandom Family Chats. I'm your host, Maureen, and today we're joined with Tiffany.
Hello.
Bethany.
Hi.
Jeanette.
Hey, guys.
And our very special guest, who is in The Resident, among other things, as Kyle Nevin. We have Corbin Bernsen.
Hey.
We are so glad to have you here, and we have lots of questions for you.
I have lots of questions for me, so nothing.
Nothing.
I've just done 14 days of quarantine in a hotel room in Vancouver where I'm sitting in this fancy, schmancy place. And believe me, 14 days by yourself, locked inside four walls, lots of questions.
I don't think I would find that fun for me.
You know, it was enlightening. I had a love-hate with it because on one hand, you just hate it. Your body actually goes through weird stuff, confinement. I started thinking about our whole prison system is just wrong. All the way from that to, no, I have a routine and it's really nice. And I don't, you know, I've got this, I wake up, do this, do that, have my workout, I read, I write, make my dinner. I made beautiful dinners. I got food. I have a little kitchenette over there. So, you know, I had a really nice routine and I was very kind of like proud of myself in that. But you'd wake up the next day and go, wow, 13 more days of this. And it was
Groundhog Day.
It's very Groundhog Day. And the day I came out of the room, let's clarify. Yes, I came out in the middle of all of it. The day I left the hotel room, it was really weird because it was like, I couldn't wait to get back to the room, which was, I understand I understand the prison system. You get back to the safety of the routine because there's so many options out there. Do I want Mexican food, Japanese food? Do I want eggs? Do I want steak? Do I want fish? Do I want, and all of a sudden it's like too many choices. I thought, let me get back to my little room with limited choice. Anyway, I digress.
You have to move to a little tiny Midwestern town where you don't have many options. And then that'll be better for you.
Yeah, well, I moved upstate New York and it's kind of like that there. I did learn one thing during it, and I will pass it on to all of your listeners and those who go to YouTube and become viewers. Simplicity is an extraordinary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole COVID thing probably brought us all to a little bit more simplicity.
Yeah.
What's important, family, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's been a common theme in our podcasting because this started right towards the end of quarantine. We've only been doing this since March?
Yeah.
March or April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we haven't been doing this that long, but that's where I got the idea for my other podcast that came first, was because of I couldn't get out of my house and I need to be doing something. So why not just talk at people all the time?
There you go. At people.
My other podcast started as talking at people because it was just me and a camera. So I realized very quickly I needed other people or people were going to think I was insane.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were in quarantine. Was that for a project? Like you came to Vancouver and you had to quarantine originally?
Anybody come? I'm doing psych. Sorry about that dinging there. That's for another project I'm going to be doing. So I had to see what that was. And I don't know how to turn it off because I'm a tech idiot.
That's okay.
It's okay.
We're here doing this. Yes, I'm doing Psych 3, the series I was on.
Really?
Psych, doing a movie called This Is Gus. And fun.
I'm going to try to not fangirl about that a little bit.
That's awesome.
I'm very excited to hear that.
Years later, we're all together doing it still. And we marvel at it. That it's so rare. I had a wonderful thing back with LA Law when I did that, but it's rare that you get a cast and everybody's here and you're still enjoying 16 years later, revisiting it. It's fun.
And I cannot remember his name, but the gentleman who plays Lassiter.
Yeah, Timmy. Yeah.
Yes, Timmy Oldmanson, right?
Yeah.
He is also in This Is Us, which is another group that we run. And it's fun for me because as a huge Psych fan to see you both in different roles, because I'm used to you being Henry Spencer. And then I see you as Kevin Nevin, who is not as responsible as Henry Spencer is. And so in Timothy too, when I saw him originally in the beginning of Psych and then after his stroke, how they still incorporate into it. You guys do great work.
Yeah, no, I have really great scenes with him actually in this one.
Oh,
We
good.
have some good stuff. You know, I think Henry and we're here to talk about The Resident. We're on to Psych. That's okay.
It's okay.
I think Henry and Lassiter have this incredible relationship that is similar to, you guys are probably all too young, but some of your listeners, viewers might not be. When I did LA Law, there was a mentally challenged, not that Tim is mentally challenged, let's be clear, he just has a disability because of his stroke.
Mhm.
But I with this character Benny on LA Law, and I just found this to be, I find those to be incredible scenes because if you're and it goes back to many things I've thinking about, if you're able-bodied, able mind,
Mhm.
and you are put together with somebody who is not that, it's sort of it's a great leveler, of understanding who you are and how much you should be appreciative for what you have, and uh, and I think for me as a person working with Tim, it certainly does that. But and back in LA Law, when I worked with the character Benny, wonderful Larry Drake, who unfortunately is not with us anymore. For my character Becker, then it was a great equalizer. I guess that's the word I'm
Mhm.
looking for.
Yeah. And not that Kevin Nevin has a disability, but he had an addiction. So is there, right? He was
Right.
addicted. So I thought I got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's had many problems that go back. His problems go back to his losing his wife when the girls were young. I had to root out what it is with him, and he's had problems, whether it's with addiction, drinking addiction. He's found every course of action to get through his pain, and and finally, it's suggested that he go to a facility to clean out and sober up. Um, uh, and he does. And then, of course, the pandemic hits and he's pulled out of there probably a little too prematurely. The funny thing about Kyle, I have so many things. I've never had a daughter, so working with Emily was extraordinary because I got the I personally got to experience what it might be like to have a daughter, which is, just was extraordinary. And I had to actually say to Emily once or twice, like, I'm sorry if this is like too much, but I'm really, I'm living out this thing that I'll never, I have 4 wonderful sons. But I've not had a daughter, even their girlfriends, I get very attached to in a paternal kind of way, because it's an experience. I'm kind of like I'm reading a book on Daniel Boone. I feel like I'm a Daniel Boone going through life, just trying to carve out the forest. And one of the things I'm not really getting is that I never really has that relationship with the daughter.
Mhm.
And so with Nic, I get a little bit of that experience.
Yeah. And you had 2 daughters in The Resident.
I did, and unfortunately, I lose one. I mean, that's a constant thing with him, kind of coming to these terms and losing the thing he loves. That's why when Nic gets stabbed, I mean, he almost lose. I don't think what you saw in the episode was far less than what I acted. They have to edit it out, but it
Mhm.
really pained me to think that I'm going to lose her. I was angry. There was a huge thing I did, and I wish they had kept it in, but I was so angry at God. How could you do this? How can you do this to me? I
Mhm.
was angry at God. I was angry at the hospital. I was angry at life and angry at everything. And they showed some of it. Some of it was there, but I might have been a little over the top, maybe.
I mean, that's a standard thing when you just lost a wife and then you lost a daughter and you're on the verge of losing your only other child. I mean, I think that's probably
Right.
Yeah.
fairly appropriate.
Well, with him, there's a lot. Yeah, I would imagine you got to get into the why me? What have I done? Tell me what I've done. You know, um, and and especially if you know that's your last life vest, you know, that's
Yeah.
left. And you know, and she's such a good person, you know. So and I never gave her the attention, you know, that she deserved. And so I'm making up for all of that. And then the idea that she was leaving. So I had some wonderful, I loved The Resident because of that relationship. And I just never, there was never, nothing was ever written for me to just come and play lightly. Maybe the wedding a little bit, but even that's emotional
Mhm.
because, you know, he's walking his daughter down the aisle. There's
Yeah.
no just, I've been on plenty of other things, you know, we actors, you're very fortunate. You're very fortunate if you're a big movie star, and then you're very fortunate if you do a big TV series, and you're continue being fortunate if you're enough to be sort of recurring roles popping on different shows, which is what I'm sort of that mode I'm in right now, whether it's The Resident or I've been doing Magnum, although they killed me there. Um, uh, and you know, so I'm very fortunate to go in and pop in and do these different experiment with these different characters. But I love it in The Resident. There's just nothing that's meaningless.
Mhm.
You know, it's all written very. When I go there, it's something. Some of these other ones, you're just sort of there as a guest star. You know,
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Yeah,
know
that-
every scene is just very emotional. Like even as you were describing, it did come across, like that emotion did come across in that
Mhm.
scene. And I think as you were saying, every scene that he is in is just there. It's important, it's emotional, and I do know it's become a bit of a fan favorite in my family. I know like every time we sit down and watch The Resident and we see your name at the beginning of the episode, and you know my parents get excited. Oh good, you know he's coming back on this episode, and I was waiting for him to come back, and just seeing that relationship between, you know, that father-daughter relationship on screen, and even with all the pain that they've gone through, and it's very significant to watch. So it the emotion is definitely conveyed to the audience. It's
Okay.
wonderful to see. So definitely a fan
And
favorite.
it's real. It's well, nothing we do is real. It's all sort of phony, as we know. It's acting.
Yeah.
But it's as an actor, you know, how close, how in touch can you be with that character? I was thinking about acting the other day, if I can
In your
detour
quarantine?
here a bit. It's like no, well, yeah, quarantine, post quarantine. I'm still sitting in a hotel room. You know, I mean, you know, I'm going to go out in a little bit, but I was thinking like, I think if I were, you know, people always say, what advice would you give to young actors? And I'd say, well, don't try to be the character. You know, don't try to be. You're never going to be it because you're you. I'm Corbin. I'm never going to be
Right.
Kyle. It can't be. Kyle's fake, and it's. But what you can be that's true is the feel that the connectedness, the humanity of that person. I think that's something my mother, God bless her, from The Young and the Restless, Jean Cooper, gone for too many years now. Miss her every day. One thing she taught me, you can have an empathy with that character, and that empathy can then turn you to a place where, as Kyle Nevin, you can feel genuine joy, genuine hurt, genuine pain. You can, you know, and that's what you want to strive to make genuine, are the emotions that you're going through. You're never going to be him, no matter how hard you dress or whatever it is. It's our job is not to become that,
Right.
but
Mhm.
to be that, you know,
Yeah. That's a good point.
Absolutely
if
wonderful.
that makes any sense.
It does.
It does.
It makes a lot of sense. And then you're able to make a connection to the audience as well, that they're able to make that connection to the character, you know, regardless of what the situation is. And I think that's just a beautiful thing.
Because everybody's gone through it. If you're, my job as an actor is to touch through character, this phony, false bait character, but touch through the humanity of character. You go,
Right.
even though you don't say it here, you know it here. I've experienced, I know that, oh my God. It's like when somebody in like a horror movie, when somebody's going in a room and they're scared, you're going, oh, you're doing that because you know what it'd be like to go in that room.
Right.
And they're demonstrating that fear that you feel. So that's our job, is to just, I think our job really as actors is really just to connect with with the audience in a way that says we're all human. We're all,
Yep.
this is you know, remember this feeling, you know, that feeling, you know, this one, that's what you're doing. So I think characters you connect with, I think with even going back to LA Law, this very popular character, this guy, Arnie Becker, who just felt like an out with all the trappings in the world, never felt enough. And I think there's so many people that walk around with that, you know, they can have money, they can have looks, they can have all the things, and somehow they never feel enough. You know, they never, they've never feel enough. And that's it's probably a more common theme in humanity. You know, we're all striving to fill the void of this massive mystery of life, right? That was from quarantine.
Quarantine thoughts.
I really started writing quarantine thoughts.
There you
I
go.
would one, but I can't give one of them one. Yesterday was just, it was quite funny, but I can't really share it. Although I did come up with this one. If patience is the tool, patience is the tool, its creation is time.
Ooh, I like that.
Patience is
Oh,
the
yeah.
tool. What it creates is time. And because I was walking, I was thinking, like, you learn to be patient in quarantine. And I found out the more patient I am and not in a rush, the longer the day is. Literally, it makes time longer. If you're in a rush always, it's never enough time, right? But if you're patient, there's plenty of time.
That would
If
explain a
patience is
lot
the
about my
tool,
life.
time is what it creates. Time is its creation.
Look at that.
That was one of them.
I wrote that down. I'm gonna start saying that to people.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Put it on coffee mugs and pictures.
There you go.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Others
Tiffany.
I can't share because they get too personal. Or you might.
Okay, we have a
judge me
few
to get-
questions for you.
Sure. I love questions.
Did you know that you always wanted to be an actor, or did you have other jobs that you did before this?
I did not always want to be an actor. My mother, like I said, was a wonderful actress on The Young and Restless for 40 years. My father was a producer, and I saw the pitfalls standing at the edge of the pit my entire youth of, you know, work, no work, money, no money, or pain, happiness, unhappiness. And I want none of that. And I actually wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go into some sort of law. Grew up in the 60s. I thought I want to go into law, and I want to be like a space lawyer. I want to, which was way ahead of its time. I wanted to be I figure all these satellites and things are going to go up. Somebody that's uncharted territory. So somebody's going to have to make a law for the new frontier. Going back to my Daniel Boone book I'm reading, and the idea of exploring and pioneering. I thought that would be interesting. And I put myself through school, actually being a carpenter. I was framer, I'd frame houses. So, and then one day my dad put me in a movie, and I just said, yeah, no, this is it. I like this. I denied it. I kept denying it, really, is what I was doing, because I really did want to do it. I loved it. I loved when my mother did the sets. I still love to this day going on a sound stage. And you know, she took me to the set. She was working on Bonanza, and the Ponderosa was not this place out in the mountains. It was this on a sound stage with these fake trees. I can still smell the trees, and they looked very real. And I thought, like, oh, I can be a kid doing this my whole life, you know? So I always wanted to do it, but I kind of steered away because I saw the unhappiness that it can create, or the instability, more importantly. But then once it bit, as they say, it bit big.
Were you still young when your dad put you in the movie, or were you into adulthood?
Were you in adult movies? I thought you were going to say. No, yes. Wait, your dad put you in a movie, or were you an adult and you had a dot there? Wait, what's she saying? No, I was in college, actually, studying philosophy as a pre-law. My major was philosophy. And he did this first black exploitation movie called Three the Hard Way with a couple of football guys, Jim Kelly, who was a karate guy, Jim Brown, and Fred Williamson. It was really one of the first kind of like Shaft kind of movies. And he gave me the script and he said, look, we're shooting not far from where you're in school. I want you to come down here. And the script was like a pair of naked young limbs thrashing in the backseat of a Rolls Royce. And then he wanted to buy my car to blow it up in a scene. And he said he was going to give me $900 for it all. I went like, oh, wow, okay. So I go down there, I make out with this beautiful girl on screen making a movie. A couple hours later, I see my car get blown 20 feet into the sky, and he hands me $900 and the production van. So I had a vehicle. I went like, this is what I'm doing. You know, to this day, honest to God, I don't remember going back to San Diego State and getting my stuff. I just remember enrolling in UCLA. I may very well still have an apartment full of stuff in San Diego. I guess. I mean, maybe he'll come and get it. I don't know.
It's left exactly it was when the moment you walked out like a time.
Yeah, like these guys are like, no, I think the dude's coming back. It's San Diego, you know. It's like San Diego, early 70s. I think the dude's coming back. I don't know. Bong looks good.
That is every college man's dream that you got to do there.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
I know.
And you have a long,
Yes.
like we were looking up your IMDb page, and you have 250 credits to your name. That's a huge list.
Yeah, I've got to qualify that a little bit. It's important because, and this is something I did toy with during quarantine, and I really thought a lot about. I'm 66 now, so I've been thinking like, what do I want to do? What do I really want to do now? And I'll get to that in a moment. But you know, I got very lucky. I think I was prepared. Preparedness, and opportunity crossing paths. I had some good luck to get LA law, which really just opened the doors wide. And I immediately got married, despite what everybody thought that I was, you know, because of the character I was. I got married to a wonderful woman, Amanda. We've been married for 32 years. And we had 4 kids pretty quickly. And, you know, we were living a big life with LA Law. We had a nice house, and the kids were not for want of things too much, bicycles, computer, whatever needed, you know. And so the bottom line is that, combined with the fact that I passionately love to act. I love doing this with all of you. I love this. I love the connection, you know, that connection to audience. I love that. I cherish that. And so maybe I did a little bit more work than I should. I wasn't one of the calculated kind of like, you know, that's not really good for me. I'm going to wait for my next move to be this, and I'm going to move this, and we're going to strategically do this. I'm not saying I took every single thing that came along. I didn't, because that list could be 3 times as long. But I worked, you know, and I found a great pleasure in doing things that, like, sometimes some of those things on there are kids that were, you know, literally they're like in their teens. One of them even that I recall, they were like, hey, I'm making a movie at my parents' house. We can give you a couple $1,000. Would you have a chance to come to and be in our movie? And most people go, are you out of your mind? And I was like, no, these kids, God, this is gonna be just great, man. You get to go connect with these kids. They get like a guy who's actually in movies and TV shows. And I would go and do it, much to the amazement of agents and managers and even my wife, who were like, what are you doing? But I, again, bring up Daniel Boone, the frontiersman, the whatever. I just did stuff that, combined with, in, you know, a lot of instances, you make decent money. So, you know, we could do that. You know, we have a nice house in France, you know, and I got 4 wonderful kids who had a wonderful education, and how much ever education they wanted, and paid for it, you know. But jumping ahead, in quarantine, I got to a place that, okay, now they're they're all old enough. They're making their own money. They got their own girlfriends. They live where they live. And we have our house. And I said, I'm going to probably cut back on all that. I don't really have that same, I feel like I've done my bit, of experimenting that way. And I really want to focus on work that is truly meaningful for me. I don't mean meaningful like, oh, that's a meaningful. Just really has deeper meaning. I want to go a little further. I want to step it up a little bit. I want to, and I really want to work with some people that are different caliber sometimes than necessarily kids who are coming out of high school and making a movie at their parents' house.
That makes sense.
I didn't do that much. I did that twice as I can recall, but that was sort of like the
Probably
lowest
2 more
end of
times
it,
than the average actor.
Right.
Yeah, more times. Most actors. Part of me was like going there and like just seeing the amazement on their face, like, how did you do that? I mean, that'd be like me saying, "Hey, I'm making a little home movie. I'm not going to compare myself to Robert De Niro, but like getting just a wish list of people, and then they're going like, sure, I'll show up."
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
It's me. It's kooky me.
We do feel a little like that sometimes when we get cast and crew to say yes to talking with us. It's kind of like we have a chat for our podcast. We're like, oh, we got a yes from Corbin. This is awesome. Let's go do this. So,
Well, exactly. I mean, that's part of it, and I'm so enjoying this. But other actors would probably go, "Who are they? What? Do they? How many people do they?
yeah.
But I enjoy it.
And it means a lot, whether it's a viewer, podcasters, or even people making a movie at the parents' house. It makes a difference. It means a lot, and it has a great impact, and it's cool to see when people do that, to see that.
It probably means a lot more to you than to some big studio for me to say Corbin Bernsen's going to be in our movie. I'll bet it actually means more to you.
It does. Yeah.
Therefore,
I mean,
therefore it means more to me,
Absolutely. Definitely. And it means a lot to our viewers and listeners as well. And we have those fan groups, and it's deeply appreciated, and it's great to be able to see that. So definitely.
Yeah. Both ways.
We mentioned COVID a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about how it was on set with having to go around COVID?
Oh, well, Resident handled it really, really well. That was my first thing that I did kind of still in the middle of it back at the beginning of the year. We did the wedding. That was, I think, in January or something. So we're still pretty deep in it, right? And the protocols I will tell you this. I mean, the protocols were fantastic. Shields, if you're, I don't know if anybody's shared any of it with you, but if you're like, there's different groups of people. And if you're with the A group, which means you're in proximity to the actors, you have to have certain shields down all the time. We have our masks on until they say action. The masks go back on when they say cut. Every 15 minutes, our masks are off combined. They fog the sets. I mean, they really did give you tests 3 times a week. So it's become a thing. I will tell you that it's taken some of the luster off. Just the notion I can't come up and just go hug somebody from work. Well, there's that too. I can't, now we get these on-set protocols, like forget COVID, like I can't just go up and hug somebody, you're so like, because of all the other stuff that's going on in society, it's like, well, is that a wanted hug or an unwanted hug? I don't know, man. I just haven't seen her for a while. I'm gonna hug her. Or, hey, you're looking great today. I actually had something recently where they said, you're not really supposed to tell somebody they look good. Okay.
Wow.
It's gotten a little bit politically incorrect. It's a very hard line because obviously we're going through this time because, it needs to be addressed. You know,
Yeah.
it's been around too long and people have crossed lines and all of that. I don't want to get into all of that. But I think I think life is such that we have to go so far to come back to a new normal. We sometimes have to go beyond what feels right.
Yeah.
And again, I want to be very clear here because this could be so easily misconstrued. And I try not to even talk about this stuff. Is that is I'm just saying that it's all lost some of the I don't know, the whole notion of you know, this wonderful thing we do when we act, which is a kind of an intimate thing with the people that we make it with, and it's a relationship, and it's a business of emotions and feelings and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And when you're whether it's a mask or asked to kind of pull back on what your feelings are, it's just a weird time.
Mhm.
And when I say take some of the, not the luster off, it's a business of humanity, of being human, you know.
Yeah.
And when you're asked to bridle that human thing, it's just a bit odd. It just kind of
Yeah.
counter to what our business is.
Mhm.
But that said, and I'm going to end with this, what we are doing is a very important thing right
Yeah.
now in our step of becoming more human, and certainly our relationship, not just between men and women, men and men, women and women, you know, whatever it is. It has to, it needed to be. To jump and going to COVID, if I may, part of my 14-day quarantine philosophy is that I don't think any of this stuff is a coincidence.
Yeah.
I think, you know, whether it's quarantine up against Me Too, up against this, up against that, we are wonderfully, I believe, the optimist in me, we are becoming more human. And if COVID drove us, I don't think COVID just happened in a vacuum. You know, I'm a person of faith, and I have a belief in God, and I have a belief in purpose of things. And I believe there is purpose to all of this, and it is to really find our humanity. You know, I think we have so much technology now and so many things that can take us away from being human, that nature, God, the mystery, it kind of puts you in a place to self-correct course.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening right now.
Sometimes you have to take a moment to just reset. I think that's what a beautiful thing. You know, maybe
Yes.
that's what he means by be still, right? It's just you
Right.
gotta
Be
be still. You have to take that moment to kind of just reset, refocus,
Right.
and he
We
refreshes.
do as people, we do as our entire humanity, we do,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely.
And I do, if you really think about it, people, you know, before COVID, if you say were things great, you go, I don't know. I mean, look at the discord in our country and between nations and between peoples, go back to 9/11. It's just, we're a turbulent, you know,
Yeah.
we unfortunately, our time on this earth is in the middle of some turbulence. Not that it always has been. Again, I'm reading Daniel Boone. That was like crazy times turbulent, you know. But we're just, I don't know, we're just forging our way toward this incredible, I believe, incredible being, relation to planet and universe that we can become. And again, too much time in a hotel room, those are the kinds of things you think about.
But I think it's a good point because it's not a critique on anyone who's running the shows and how they're doing this. It's a necessity, but it's what this has done to us. And I know that as a writer and as for you as an actor, your job is to give hope. That's why people
Right.
connect, because you want that hope. You want to know that someone has gone through what you've gone through and they've come out the other side okay. You want to know that
Right.
someone is currently experiencing what you're experiencing, so you're not alone. I mean,
Right.
that's why people connect with it. And I imagine it's kind of hard when there are so many restrictions on a set behind the scenes to be able to dive right into that. when you're going from mask to
Right.
unmask, mask to unmask. I imagine that would be difficult. And it's not a critique on anyone running it. It's just, it's a really hard place, I think, to be. And I think that it is something that we do need to recognize, that there is so much turmoil that we should be using this as a reason to be better, rather than continue to argue and fight and kill and just dive into the negative aspect of this. We should be looking to, and I think that's where God is pulling us to.
And is that not really, to bring this back to the discussion? Look, The Resident is very successful.
Mhm.
It resonates, right? Big word. It resonates. Why
Yeah.
does it resonate? Not just because it's one of the shows that's like, one of its hallmarks is showing organs inside a stomach and whatever opening up or
It's
whatever
my
it is.
daughter's favorite part.
It is. Yeah. Well, exactly. But you know what? People come out the other side.
Yep.
And that's so it's not just, you're hearing about a disease or a problem. You're kind of getting in there and you're seeing the nastiness of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the devil of it. You're seeing the evil of it. You're seeing the no way out of it, and yet still the hospital itself is in jeopardy. Nick's life is in jeopardy.
Mhm.
Kyle's life is in jeopardy. But when it comes out the other side. And I think that's part of the beauty of The Resident, is that it doesn't hold back in showing the brutality.
Yeah.
And still comes out the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Not always and by the way, not always with the greatest outcome,
No.
and not necessarily the most fair outcome,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. Usually you say, well, the bad guy died, but it's not always that way. It's life. What is reassuring is that we continue on.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
carry on.
And that's real
Absolutely.
too. It doesn't always happen
That's
fair,
why I
and we
believe-
don't always get what we
That's why I
want.
believe, and that's why I believe The Resident's successful, because it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's real. It's true. Again, the audience goes, I connect with that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think I totally agree with that. It's, you can make that connection because there's so many different stories. It's, you have the characters that have their long-term story. And then you have the different patients that come in, and maybe that is contained within an episode. So you have the viewers that are able to have so many resources, if you will, to make that connection and to understand. And as you were saying, to realize, hey, that is life. Life isn't always perfect, but to know that at the end of it all, there's absolutely still a resolution. It may not on this side of heaven, it may not be resolved, but there's still that resolution that, whatever you face in life, you can keep going, knowing that, hey, it may not be fair, but it's good. It's going to
Yeah.
be okay.
So as Kyle, Nevin, what did you have any similarities, major differences? What was your biggest challenge to play Kyle?
Speaking of connecting too, I mean, you
Yeah.
had to have connect with him a little bit.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, I'd never had a daughter, so I was able to live that out. That was, in a weird way, it's a connection because he had something I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I connect with Kyle, if I'm to be perfectly frank, in the searching for joy, even with my beautiful wife, 32 years and 4 sons. This morning, I happened to be talking to her, and I said, kind of ready for a moment in my life where I get one of those spikes of joy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've had spikes of down. We've all had spikes of down. I live a kind of even life, stuck in the hotel room. I just feel like I want, like, one of my kids to go, hey, guess what? I'm married. I just need one of those, like,
Yeah.
or a new series comes along that really gets, I'm waiting for I would like one of those. So to go back to that, I think, I do feel like I'm somebody who is still searching for something,
Mm.
something elusive,
Yeah.
and it's not satisfied. I have a wife of 32 years. I have 4 sons. I'm not saying I have a ton of money, but I'm financially okay, not unlike Kyle. So I have a lot of things that he he doesn't have, and I don't think the common thread is to have or to have not.
Mhm.
It's that I was talking with somebody the other day, and I said, I constantly do this thing. Say, you happy? You happy? Nobody's. Oh, you know what it was? Vladimir Putin the other day. Something. What was it he said? In that somebody said, happiness is like a mirage over the hill. It's something you look forward to, but there is no happiness in life. And I thought, like, wow, no wonder you're a messed up country. And then I thought, no, wait, maybe he's onto something. Maybe this happiness thing that we chase is elusive. It is a mirage. What I've sort of replaced that with contentment.
Mhm.
Do you have content? Are you
Yeah.
content? And content is again, I was speaking to a friend who's good with all of this stuff, and life is filled with highs and lows and
Yeah.
highs and lows and highs and lows. It's how you navigate through it that is being content. It's being content with the fact that there's highs and lows. But to chase this elusive, are you happy? Well, I giggle sometimes. Sure, I'm happy with you guys now. Am I content? I hate to go to my mother's show, but I'm no longer young, but I'm still restless.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of that whole show, that title of that show.
Mhm.
And I'm not quite sure what that is about. I'm working on it, but I'm not quite sure where my inability to remain content
Yeah.
comes from. And I think that's a lot like Kyle. To
Mhm.
answer the long
Yeah.
to the
I'd agree
question.
with that. I think too that I think Kyle for so long thought happiness would come from a certain place, and that's what he chased. But he
Right.
couldn't find happiness there because that's not where it was. Where happiness was surprisingly with Marshall. When they go to the
Yeah.
baby shower, and then that's, by the way, one of my favorite lines from season 5 is when you guys are coming back and Marshall says, I didn't know Kyle had a problem with orange. And I cannot remember the line that you said, but it makes me laugh every single time I see it. Something about how much
I'd
you hate
say-
the color orange.
Yeah. No, Nick says, yeah, it's a thing. That's what, yeah, it's a thing.
And then you pop your head around the corner and you say something about it. I love that.
I
But
say, did I or did I just do like, I
Like,
can't remember.
now we got to do a
Like-
rewatch.
Yeah, no, right.
But it's fun to see Kyle come full circle but when we first see him, he's trying to kind of run away because he thinks he's not going to find happiness here. He thinks he's going to ruin Nick's life and that won't be happy. So he tries to run, but where he finds happiness is coming back to the start and being there. So he's more content in when he looks at happiness a different way.
Right. I'll tell you something
Mhm.
funny about that scene is Glenn, who plays Marshall,
Mhm.
he and I actually thought the very opposite things. He thought that I only liked the color orange.
Oh.
And I thought Kyle is scared of the color orange. So he has a problem with orange, meaning like if it isn't orange, his thing was he's not having it. My thing was I ain't having orange.
That's how I took it. I thought you were a little afraid of it.
Me too.
Yeah, right. I think he thought that I only liked orange.
Oh
Anyway.
no.
So next season, we have to dig into that backstory a little bit, like have some flashbacks to your interaction with Orange for the first time.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is true.
yeah.
We need to see that.
What next season? What is that going to be? I don't know.
Have they?
You're
Have
slated
they
for a
announced-
full
Ask
23
me, do
episodes,
wanna
I
do
believe.
More, and they keep asking me if I want to do more, and I say, yeah, I would love to.
Absolutely.
At one point, they asked me, do I want to like really get into the medical part? And I said, no, like he's not going to become there. I was happy being sort of an angel there,
Yeah.
working with
Mhm.
patients, which I thought was really kind of good. And I think, that's the area that could probably go more. Him, short of having to wear the Walmart greeter vest. That would be, but I mean, to have him always go back to school and learn something to be, I said, no, I said,
That wouldn't work.
I think my function on this show is really to be Nick's father.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
I don't want to really become a patient, even though I guess I was for a moment because of the liver or the kidney transplant, but I don't want to become a long-term, COVID person who's always in the hospital or something.
Yeah.
I said, it's not really through Nic and my relationship with Nic. I'm happy to be a part of the show. I'd love to be, but it's got to somehow relate to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's what the fans react to as well. So that's definitely where they should keep the character. I think that would be fantastic to see more of that storyline, more of that relationship, and as it progresses and develops, and I think that'd be awesome.
Now you have the fun new role of grandfather as well.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Gigi.
that will whatever goes on, that would be, yeah, I'm certainly into the next year.
But I think Kyle's
that
purpose with
changed?
Nic too is really, really beautiful, because what you do for Nic, I mean, your character has lost his wife and he's lost his daughter, but Nic has also lost her mom and her sister, and she's always been very stoic. But I think what you bring to Kyle is you give her a sort of levity, a sort of permission to be lighter, to not carry so much on her, because you're taking that from her. And I think that as she becomes a mom, your role as grandfather, but more importantly as Nic's father, is going to have a bigger impact on who she is as a person.
Yeah. But then again, the show's called The Resident. It's
That's
about
true.
opening up somebody's chest cavity. So, the part for me is that, as I said, I think a few moments ago, I'm really looking to do something that's like meaningful. That I'm not even sure how much I want to just keep popping into things. I mean, it's great. I'm blessed that I work and and I get to do good work, but how far can we really go when the show's The Resident?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Would I prefer at this point in my life to get on something where I'm just a regular, not a regular to be a regular, but I get to keep,
more of a
as opposed to
developing.
development, rather than 4 times a year you pop in and like,
Yeah.
And believe me, I don't know, as an actor, nobody probably thinks about this. I have to fill in so many blanks about what's happened. I mean, the first of the year, Nic brings me out for the wedding. Was the wedding at the end of last year or the beginning of this year? The
Beginning of this year.
Beginning of this.
Yeah.
last season, right? And then the next time I show up, she's stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what's happened to me. All I know is she pulls me out of the facility. That was COVID. Was that last year? She goes, you have to get out of there.
That was
Right?
last year
Okay.
where she pulled you from the facility, I think.
Pulls me from the facility. Yeah. And then all of a sudden where was I between that and and all of it, one day he's working at this house by a pond, and then he's got an apartment in the city. So
I
you
forgot
get all
about
these
that.
like things. It's like, and where does he get money? How does he get clothes? One big question I had is like, because he fancied himself a kind of hip dresser and everything. Where did he get money from?
Mhm.
So I got to fill in all these things because it's just when you show up 4 times a year, it's like, this is what he is now. Okay,
Yeah.
well, what's happened over the months? And
makes
that's
sense.
kind of hard. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna. I mean, I write the interims in my head,
Mm-hmm.
of what's happened, but it's never discussed on paper. I mean, it's never discussed on film. It's just like, oh, there's Kyle. And so when I say I would like to do something that has a continuity, that you can see the progression of the character. By the way, one of the times I said that I felt like I overacted when she stabbed, it's because I think, and I actually told them this when I watched it, I didn't feel quite right doing it, but I said, I'm coming from, I don't have anything in between, so I'm throwing it all out there right now.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes the moments you're on screen or in a scene too big, because you've got 6 months of, I don't know where the hell he's been, coming into a scene, and you don't get the subtleties. So that's actually that's really hard to manage as an act. It'd be like, I guess, a basketball player who's been sitting on the bench for the whole game, then he's asked to come in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not
You have
ready.
to suddenly
And-
put your
and-
head
and
in the
now
game.
You got 3 minutes left, and you're probably overshooting, taking too many shots. You're probably, because you just only got 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. You're putting the entire game's worth of energy and playing into that 3 minutes.
into that
the
3
last of the
minutes.
game.
So And that's
Exactly.
tough. That's tough. I have to really bridle myself when I go in there and
Yeah.
bring all the excitement in, just like, what is this scene about? And
Mhm.
put all that stuff, energy that's been between the last time we saw him, everything I thought about, and just play the scene.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But when you do a series on a regular basis, you get to keep developing that slowly. It's like
Like on
slow-
Psych.
like-
Just throw that out there.
Well, no, I mean, truthfully, not really. I mean, I'll be honest, because I love the show and I love it dearly, but given my role, it's not unlike.
That's true, because you aren't the main. It's Sean
I'm
and
not
Gus.
the main guy. I'm not Sean and Gus, you know? I mean, I'll be up here for 30 days. I only work 4 days.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Mm.
And it's all packing into tomorrow and next week.
Holy cow.
And
Mm.
so, again, it's a little bit the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we did the series, obviously I was in every episode, so it was a bit more, but even then it was like not a,
You weren't in every scene then. You weren't. It was mostly
and you
Sean
don't
and
want to
Gus's
be in
job.
every scene either, but you just want to, not have the flow break so many times.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. And you talked about Kyle being a snazzy dresser. I think you should bring back scarves for men.
Bring back what? Scars for men?
Scarves.
Scarf thing. Like it was a thing I was going through actually. Like,
Really?
It's just like I went there, hey, maybe he's this. Yeah, I tried to bring something to it, but I don't know. I said actually in the last couple episodes, I said, let's just this year basically. I said,
Mhm.
I think he's gone to therapy, been in the place, recovered. I don't think he needs those
Mhm.
trappings as
Yeah.
much anymore. I think those were things to, I'm going to make a deal with Marshall. I'm going to sell my new invention. I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to
Oh, I
get
forgot
him
that
to-
happened.
Yeah, that's back at the beginning. I got an idea. God, I feel like a schmo. And Glenn is so good at playing that. It's like, Glenn doesn't give away much. Glenn's a wonderful actor. I actually didn't really know much of his work until my wife watched Bloodline.
Oh,
Yet he was extraordinary. I don't know if anybody knows that he was in that, but he was great. Is it Bloodlines? Yeah, right. Bloodlines.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, he was great, and so it's been great working with. But I get excited, and Glenn's kind of like, perfect as Marshall. Yeah, and I got this idea, Marshall. We're going to do that. Blah, blah.
Okay.
He was in another show that we have, right, Jeanette? Friday Night Lights. He's in that one too.
Yeah, he's in
All
Friday
right.
Night
That's
Lights.
another
Yeah.
one of our groups.
Yeah, he's a wonderful
Mhm.
actor.
But he teaches an acting class in Texas
know.
that someone that we interviewed was his student. And
Yeah.
so she was talking, she was saying the same things you were saying, how he doesn't really give
him
much
from
away.
hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. He had me in actually where we were staying in Atlanta. I went up to his room one night and did one of his classes with him. Yeah, he's big with that. I
Oh.
mean, he's got quite a business going. I
Mhm.
wouldn't mind teaching. I don't know where I fit it into my simplified life now.
There's a good market for it in New York.
Yeah, I live upstate though, so I live in the woods.
See,
No.
now we've talked about this on the show before. I don't know my geography very well. So upstate New York to me still feels like New York City. I don't really know the difference.
Well, it's New York. It's New York.
Yeah.
You still get a good piece of pizza somewhere,
It's-
but it's up the Hudson River, which is extraordinarily beautiful.
Mm.
It's going up toward. I'm 4 hours south of Canada, from
Oh,
Montreal. About 4 or 5 hours. So you go up. New York kind of runs from the Atlantic, if you will, ish, up to the Canadian border.
okay.
So it goes north, right? And we're about halfway up
Okay.
in this extraordinary Hudson Valley,
Mm-hmm.
where tons of filming's going on. I've done 2 films, and I just
Oh,
got hired in a great, cool HBO thing that's going to be filming next month. So
that's exciting.
So,
No, we have a couple of fan questions, but that is something we ask every single one of our cast and crew members we interview is we want to know about the projects that you have coming up. But before we ask it, we do have a couple.
make sure because I do want to talk about one thing that's really important. But go ahead.
About
Yeah.
something you're doing?
Something I've done, something I directed, a movie that's out right now that everybody can see that my
Oh,
wonderful wife is
okay.
in, I
Yes,
wrote
we
and
do want to
directed.
hear about that.
Okay.
Jeanette has some questions from our group, I think,
Mhm.
right?
I
And one
do.
of our
I
other
have-
admins and our podcaster, one of our other podcasters.
So a little bit of backstory. One of our admin or owners in the group that also podcasts with us, Amanda, we do Spotlight Saturdays. So we take an actor, cast member from the show, and we sort of tell facts about them on the Facebook page that day. And she is the one in charge of that. And she wanted me to ask you about your snow globe collection.
Yeah. It's becoming something that I'm actually starting to tire talking of.
Oh,
I don't know why, but I will answer this. It's maybe one of the last times I do. No, I'll tell you what it is. I started it when I was doing LA Law. I'd go around the country and do different TV shows and whatever. And somebody gives you like, here's a souvenir from Kansas City. It's either a hat, a T-shirt, or a snow globe. By the end of LA Law, I had like 25 of these things in a little case. And I looked at them and went like, one off, they're kind of goofy, but together they look like pop art. Long story short, up until recently, I'm not doing it much anymore. I would get them wherever I go. I'd buy collections. I'd go on eBay. And I have an incredible collection of about 9,000 of them now. I'm actually thinking about selling the collection. My kids are like, no, I don't want that. It's just, if you're going to leave me something, leave me something. I don't know slow globes. But it's something that kind of has to stay together. So I'm really looking for a home for it right now. I have some people interested in doing an auction for the entire thing. I won't piecemeal it because as a collection, it's extraordinary. It's one of the largest ones in the world. I always used to say it is the largest, but I keep hearing a guy's got like 11,000 or something like that. But it's one of the top snow globe collections in the world. And it literally covers everything: souvenirs, movies, you name it.
Where do you keep them?
Well, until recently, different homes I've been in, they've either been I had a garage that I converted into a museum.
Oh, cool.
White wall shelves, little bench in the middle, like in a museum where you sit and you sort of ponder the globe collection. We moved to England right after LA Law, and we rented a cottage next door to actually house the snow globes.
Oh, wow.
I've had them at my office where I work, and right now they're sitting in a 40-foot steel container in 72 boxes waiting to do something. And I may ship them to New York. I have a couple of people who have some interesting ideas about displaying them in certain places in New York. I have always wanted to photograph. They are all photographed, but create a book and sort of do my definitive, this is me and my snow globe collection. Why? I've come up with various answers over the years. None of them sound true because the fact is, I don't know why. I just did it. The easiest answer is there was a cheap collection. It was easy.
Yeah.
You go to the airport and they're $4. Not like getting, vintage diamonds or something, or, so it's pretty easy to do. At one point when I started out, I put an ad in the LA Times. This is way before the internet and all that. And I put, actor on a TV show wants to buy your snow globe collection. And I got like people responding. I went out at the girl's house, and like, this is in the middle of LA Law. I show up and she goes, oh my God. and I show up there and she has like 50 snow globes. I'm going to give it to you. I don't want any money. I'm going to insist. I want to give you some money for this. But I bought her entire collection. Things like that, I've, airports, wherever. I mean, it's also, it was fun for a while. Whatever city I went to, I'd go to antique stores and see if they had vintage ones from that place.
Yeah.
And it is what it is now. So there's the answer to Corbin's domes.
all right.
I like that.
That's
That's
funny.
exactly where my head went when you said that. You should call your book that.
Corbin's dome. It's Corbin's domes.
It'll just be on the cover. It'll just be a picture from here up of your head.
Yeah,
And
of a
just say
snow
Corbin
globe.
Gnomes with snow falling over the top.
No problem,
There you
yeah.
go.
I did like this. This was always the answer I used, and I don't even know if I mean it, but I do like, and I think it appeals to me that you could have palm trees
Mhm.
inside there and still have snow. And I
Yeah.
like that sort of representation of life that you can, it doesn't have to be what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that.
And the idea that it's trapped in this little globe that you can kind of make whatever there's a fantasy about that, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
you can
For
make
sure.
it whatever
Yeah.
you want it to be, and go larger, and that's where we all are inside the dome, you know,
Mhm.
That's nice.
I agree with
a
that.
king dome.
So one of our other members, Jane, she was wanting to know, what about the role of Kyle appealed most to you? Like, what made you want to take on that role?
I have to say, I think, it came through a friend, Todd Harthen, who is a producer on it, who is a producer on Psych. James Roday, who's on Psych, James Roday Rodriguez, had directed a couple of those because he and Todd are friends. So it kind of came to me, and it with a kind of pedigree of people that I appreciate and admire. But
Mhm.
I'll go back to what I've been saying all along. I think there was something about being this father of these
Mhm.
girls at the time, because there were two of them at the time, and that experience. It was really, it was really getting to play an experience of something that I will never be able to do.
Yeah.
It's
That's it.
awesome.
I have 3 daughters, and I have one who, whenever I turn on the resident, hides in a corner with a pillow over her face because she's terrified she's going to see fake blood. But then my middle child,
Yeah.
who is 7, asks me, "Can you turn it to the part where they're cutting her open?" And she'll get
Really?
right over on the screen and watch it. So girls are a whole different breed.
Yep.
Way. Here's a little secret. I don't think I would ever want to do a medical show. I just get skeeved out by all that
Yep,
stuff. I
that's
don't know if
me.
I want to hear diseases all the time. I don't like, I don't want to what is that? What has he got? I don't know if I'd want to be honest with you, maybe that was why I said, no, Kyle doesn't need to get involved in the medical part, Yeah, surgery, symptom. Daughter. Okay.
We're good.
That's all I need.
That's why it was actually very easy playing that part when I'm really worried about getting cut open for the kidney transplant.
Mhm.
And they have me in there. And I remember one of my favorite things, and I added it. I'm lying in the hospital bed. This is not before we're being rolled out. And Nic comes in, and Conrad, and they come in, and I go, my mouth is dry. I said, okay, my mouth is really dry. Because I thought, like, he's so worried his mouth is
Yeah.
just dry. And I actually was playing it. I was like, my mouth is really dry. My mouth is dry. Is that okay? Is my mouth dry? Is it okay? He's a big wimp when he gets in there.
That's why you need a Conrad. Matt Zuckery plays that role perfect. He'll calm you down with some no nonsense.
Mhm.
Although my wife watches it, and he's a wonderful actor and he's a cute guy, but she goes, "You can't wear all that gear in the hospital on his wrist." And everything."
I've never had a
Yeah.
doctor who wears that many rings and necklaces.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think my wife goes, "Come on." He's a rebel doctor. Just come on, I don't need all that.
No.
Matt can get away with anything.
That's
Mhm.
her takeaway.
Okay.
As we get older, we get larger, and he just keeps getting leaner, man.
He does.
He's the leanest guy I know. So annoying.
It is. It's like he's mocking everyone else.
I know. He mocks me.
We know him from Gilmore Girls. That was our first group that was created, was the Gilmore Girl group. So that was why a lot of our members started watching The Resident, was because we recognized him from that show. But then we just fell in love with The Resident.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly how it happened for our family.
Now, Tiffany has our famous last question for you.
So tell us
Okay.
about your upcoming projects and the big project you mentioned a little while ago.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know if I can say anything yet about this one thing I'm about to do. It's an HBO thing. I will tell you, I've written something I really want to do called Woodstockers. During the pandemic or isolation, I wrote 8 episodes of a show. I wrote one just as like, I'm going to try this out, and ended up writing 8 episodes about a couple of guys who went to Woodstock in '69 and they never left.
Oh, wow.
And now here it is, present day, and they're pushing 70 and life has caught up with them. It's kind of a comedy, family comedy, a little bit. You know, he has a wife who's just left him to go off and, after 40 years of marriage, go off and try to become an actress in Hollywood, because that's always been her dream. And I've always shuttered her. And I have a daughter who's married basically Jared Kushner. And so opposite of everything that I stand for, you know, and she gets thrown out of her house from him, and she comes back and lives with me, but we're, you know, fire and water.
Just saying, I'd watch that show. That sounds interesting.
And my best friend dies in the first episode, but he stays as a ghost, kind of. He's always with me as my conscience. And it's how this guy's navigating pushing 70, freshly divorced, a wife that will not come back. All this, his friend has done stuff to give him a heart attack and die, and his friends are, you know, the dream of the hippie dream of peace, love, all that stuff just kind of, it just didn't materialize. And here we are, today's world. Like, where did the dream go? We failed. And I wrote it during the middle of the, like I said, the isolation. And one thing I added, and I don't know how valid it is anymore, but it's kind of true, is that what is discovered is simplicity, back to the garden, which is really his thing, actually has meaning now. But is it too late for him? Does he no longer believe even the thing that he believed in, even though it has meaning now? Can he catch a ride with it, or is he just too cynical and past it all? Anyway, it's called Woodstockers. I wrote that, so I'd really like to do that. And by the way, it's where I live in upstate New York, right near Woodstock. But more importantly, for all of your wonderful listeners, really be great if I could be supported in this. I wrote a movie about 3 years ago called Mary for Mayor, about a young girl who's about to graduate high school, and she, her father's the mayor of a very small town, and he's let it go to ruin. And she decides, and he's also let his marriage go to ruin with her mother. And he moves out, and to get back at him, she runs for mayor against him. And really, she starts out as a, you know, get back at him, to run for mayor against him, but she really finds out she can bring the town back to life. And it's called Mary for Mayor. It's, if you go to, you can find it, and you can find it on Amazon and different places, but you can watch it for free, I might add, on Encourage TV. If you put Encourage TV, it'll take you to a place, and very importantly, it'll say subscribe, but it's absolutely free. Commercials do come on with it, but you can kind of skip through them after a little bit. But Mary for Mayor, watch it for free. The more it's watched, the better it is for all of us. And you know, obviously, you know, people like to get paid for things, but it's free for the for people to watch. Absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything. Don't even have to join or pay a monthly thing or any of that. Encourage TV, Mary for, with the letter 4, Mayor.
Awesome.
And my wife's in it too. Amanda's in it.
Who does she play?
Okay.
Just to prove to her that she plays a woman who comes to town, who helps Mary, grooms Mary, but there's a surprise and a twist, and I don't want to give that away. Really wonderful actress I met named Cameron Protzman plays Mary, who's just so good. And I did it with this school, Regent University, which is a Christian based school in Virginia. And all the actors in it are kids who've gone through their acting program.
That's
and they're great.
That's cool.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
you know, so with the exception of Cameron and one other girl, they're all from there, and as are some of the guys. wonderful guys who are all related and affiliated through that. So that was, again, going back to Corbin and experimenting, I went in with these kids and gave them a very real experience of and it's not a faith-based movie of mine, if for anybody who doesn't want to get turned off to that or turned on to it. There's always faith elements in all my movies. And they're not always, they're not always there to go, come to Jesus, your life will be saved. They're not that at all. In fact, that's not me at all. But having relationships with, us and who we are, the mystery, God, whatever you want to call it, those are sort of thematic in my movies, stated or unstated. But I did get to go work with these kids and give them this chance to be in a quote unquote real movie, and so they get to graduate college with actually a real credit.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
So that, part of that whole thing, again, people are going like, what are you doing that for, man? It's my path, man. What can I tell you?
Well, I'll say it this way. When you start your podcast, because I would really like to hear all the stuff that's in your head. So when you start a podcast, you'll have to reach out to us and let us know what it is so we can promote it. And if you ever need a guest, we'll come on and chat with you about it.
Or maybe I'll just come once a week with you guys and get
There
it
you
out.
go. We'll do that. That sounds like a plan to me.
Resident
like
and
that.
more. What's the podcast?
Hey,
What's
that's
it called?
good.
I like that.
I'm the resident.
He'll be our resident guest. So there you
Oh,
There. Oh, now we're thinking.
our resident guest hour with you know who.
Well, Corbin,
There
we
you
really
go.
want to thank you for coming on, and it's fun talking to you, and I feel like this could happen for a long time. I feel like we could talk for hours. So I really appreciate you talking with us and being so open with us, and it's really, really fun to chat with you.
Very good. I really had a great time as well.
Good. And we'll send you the link for this, and if you ever do something, reach out to us. We'd like to.
Yeah. Well, send me that with contact numbers because
Oh, you froze for a second. Oh no. Okay. Well, I don't know if you can still hear me, Corbin, but we will send you that information. And since you're really, really frozen this time, I'm just going to close this out. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to look up Mary for Mayor. You can watch it on Amazon or Encourage TV with a subscription. Check out that. Check out our Facebook page, The Resident Chastain Family Fan Club. And I'm not sure what we are talking about next time, but thank you for listening to this. Keep watching The Resident. And if you want any information from us, we are at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. You can find us on social media and through Instagram and Twitter. And then we will be there for
I
you.
don't know what happened there.
That's okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I don't know, it's just like, wait, start video. That's there. Okay, I'm back on. Yeah, and I have no idea what happened. It was like God said, "Hey, man, no more talking."
Perfect. I just did
All
our
right.
closeout, so we're good. But yeah, we'll send you all of our information.
All right.
All right. Thanks again, Corbin.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.